Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg. I'd like to talk to you today about how to stop a wage garnishment. And a wage garnishment, if you're not aware of it, is when a creditor has a judgment against you. That creditor can take that judgment to the sheriff of the county where the judgment was issued, get something called a FIFA, and then go to your employer with that FIFA and say, withhold 25% of this person's paycheck and send it to me. So it's a very powerful tool in the hands of creditors and judgment creditors, and if it happens, you need to move very quickly, otherwise you stand to lose a chunk of your paycheck. Now, let's first talk about what a judgment is. And basically, a judgment is when a creditor has filed a lawsuit against you, and either you have ignored the lawsuit, you didn't answer it, or you did answer it, and the judge in the courtroom said, I think you owe the money, and a legal judgment has been issued. And that judgment, again, is a very powerful tool in the hands of the creditor because they can use it to go after bank accounts, they can use it to go after property, cash, wages, and so forth. Now, one thing I do hear sometimes is people say, well, you know, I never got sued. I don't remember getting sued. And my response to that is, first of all, make sure that your 14-year-old didn't get this piece of paper and stick it in a drawer sometimes. That happens, or that your spouse got it and didn't know what to do with it. Sometimes you don't remember getting sued. In fact, you did get sued. Another time it could be where the creditor filed suit against you at the wrong address. An adult answered the door. The sheriff's deputy handed this adult some papers. The person didn't know who you were, didn't know anything about it, threw them away, and as far as anybody's concerned, you got served. And of course, that's not appropriate. And you'll have to go to the state court, the clerk's office, and look to see where you were quote-unquote served and who served you and so forth and what happened. Now, if you were served at an address you didn't live at, you would have grounds to do what's called a collateral attack on that judgment and get it undone. That's a little bit beyond the scope of this video, but suffice it to say, if you got served at an address you did not live at, you were not personally served, you would have grounds to collaterally attack the judgment and get it undone. But let's assume that the judgment was issued either as a default or a judgment by the court, either a judge or a jury, and now the creditor is a judgment creditor and has gone to the sheriff and has filed his FIFA and has taken that to your employer. Well, your employer gets these papers that say notice of summons of continuing judgment, garnishment rather. Now, for the employer's perspective, they have to deal with that because if the employer does not withhold funds, the employer becomes fully responsible for the full judgment. So in other words, if you owe a credit card company $10,000, they sue you and get a judgment, the judgment creditor's attorney, the collection lawyer, goes to your employer and says, here's my judgment, go ahead and garnish this person's wages. The employer says, well, yeah, I kind of like them, I'm not going to do that. Now the employer owes the $10,000. Obviously, not too many employers want to deal with that, so they know, and their payroll company knows, they need to actually honor that judgment and withhold the funds. So your employer is now withholding funds. What can you do? Well, as mentioned before, you can challenge the underlying judgment, a collateral attack on the judgment. That's going to take an attorney, it's going to take money, it's going to take some time. The other option is to file a bankruptcy. And if you file bankruptcy, either Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, the automatic stay goes into force. The automatic stay stops all creditor action, and it gives you time to figure out what to do. If the funds have already been withheld and dispersed, you may be able to get them back. You may be able to get them applied to other debts like tax debts, things like that. And again, we can talk about what happens to that money, but future money will certainly not be withheld by virtue of that garnishment. So if you get wind that there is a garnishment coming, what you need to do is pick up the phone, call me, call a bankruptcy attorney and say, I need some help, I need some advice, what do I do? And let's talk about the various options to determine what makes the most sense for you. I'm happy to chat with you about all of your options, both bankruptcy and non-bankruptcy. Again, my name is Jonathan Ginsberg. My office number is 770-393-4985, and if I can help you, I'm happy to do so. Thanks very much.